Welcome to the Open Hope Show. I'm your host, Dr. Gloria Horsley, with my daughter and co-host,
Dr. Heidi Horsley.
Well, Heidi, we are going to talk about what grieving people need today. You know, there's been a lot. We've been through COVID. The world is changing rapidly. We've got artificial intelligence. People are writing obituaries using artificial intelligence. I mean, it's just kind of a wild, crazy time. And what do people need today to get through this?
Well, and I love this topic. I mean, it's kind of an interesting topic, what grieving people need today. We have never, ever had a topic like this. We've had multiple losses.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I lost my brother and my cousin at 17 together, and then my father died in 2020. You've had a lot of losses, siblings and parents and your son.
Right.
And all of our guests have had a lot of losses. So, I mean, they've had more than one very significant loss in their life, and I think so they know what did they need, what do people that they know need, what do grieving people in general need.
Absolutely. So I'm excited about the show. You want to introduce our guest?
I would love to. So next to you, Mom, is Joyelle Mulheron, and she is a Washington, D.C. public policy expert with more than 25 years of service to the nation's governors, the White House, and nonprofits. In 2010, her infant daughter died from a terminal illness, and her father, a veteran, died during the COVID-19 pandemic. She has created Evermore, an organization dedicated to providing holistic bereavement care to children and families. And Joyelle, I recently saw a clip you did. Was it for PBS?
PBS NewsHour, yeah.
PBS NewsHour. It was phenomenal. I loved it.
Thank you.
So please visit that, and you'll be able to learn more about Joyelle. So welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Next to Joyelle is Dr. Eric Brewer.
Yes.
Eric is founder and senior pastor of Transform Church Global Ministries, and he is the author of the book From Grief to Growth. And what else does the book say? From Grief to Growth.
31 Days of Journey Through Love and Loss.
31 Days of Journey Through Love and Loss.
Yes.
I love that title. Eric is a COVID-19 survivor and a widower. His wife, Holly, died of COVID-19. He is now remarried to Tiffany Williams,
Yes.
and he also lost his father in 2008. His doctoral dissertation, it was entitled Healing Hidden Wounds, the Resilience of Black Men and the Impact of Their Spirituality Upon Their Grief Recovery. Eric founded and leads a national weekly support group for Black widowers. So welcome, Eric.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Next to Eric is Dr. Jill Harrington. Jill is an assistant professor of social work at Marymount University. She became widowed after her husband died, leaving her with 2 small children to raise. Today, she has a fiance, David Carey, and they are getting married in a few months, which is exciting. Jill has a private practice in Washington, D.C. She is on the advisory boards of Hospice Foundation of America Autism and Grief Program and the Tragedy Assistance Program for Survivors. She has lost both her parents, and they died within 14 months of each other. She is the creator and lead editor of the book, Superhero Grief, The Transformative Power of Loss, and then your latest book.
Which will be Superhero Grief, and we have a working title, but it's going to focus on non-death losses. And both Joyelle and Gloria were in the first book, and Dr. Brewer here he wrote a chapter on Luke Cage for our second book.
Love
Yes.
it. Okay, welcome to our show.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank
All
you.
right, so we'll get to it. What do grieving people need today? Wow. I'll have to say, I need people. I don't know what other people need, but when my husband died 4 years ago, I think I needed people. I wanted to, was a semi-religious person,
Okay.
but I was and when my son died, I was going to church a lot, way back. He died many years ago. And I said to my pastor, the theology of the church is not helping me at all. Nothing. But the people have been fantastic. And he started to laugh, and he said to me, the people are the church.
That's right.
They're God's way, and they're God's emissaries. They're the ones that are helping you out.
Absolutely.
And I'm like, well, one of the things I wanted to talk to you about today, and to get it started with what we need, I'm concerned about what's going on in the world. It's becoming less religious. I'm worried about peer support. And to me, that's what organized religion is this peer
Right.
peer support. So maybe we can talk about that and where we
Yes.
get peer support and what you guys' take is on it. But
I think the power of our faith to help us to endure this catastrophic trauma of loss, that if you lost a spouse, parents, a child, can help you to answer those hard questions. I don't look at my loss and questioning God, why did it happen to me? I'm a pastor. And I said, you know, God, I've been working for the company a long time, for 30 years, and this happened to me. And it made me stronger. It kept me during those lonely nights, the nights when I questioned my faith. And to be transparent, there was some very tough nights because there was a lot of people that God could have took from the earth while he took my wife. Mm-hmm. But that's even bad theology right there, to say that God took her. And we hear the worst theologies at funerals, that, you know, God picks his roses and life happens. We cannot answer the question of when would you die? How would you die? Where would you die? And so God does not leave that up to us. Life happens. It's part of life, birth and death. And so when you look at the whole cycle of life, it catches us by surprise, death, but does not catch God by surprise. The Bible reads, blessed are those that mourn, for they shall be comforted. And mourning is my response to grief, to my loss. How do I process the loss? And so I process this loss with my faith, by praying, by reading, by companioning, surrounding myself with other loving believers in a community to help me, to journey with me in my loss. And the healthy way is to be transparent by saying, I'm hurting, I'm grieving, I'm mourning.
so being transparent, having a group journey with you. I think that's what I'm talking about, peer support. What's your thought on what do people need right now?
I couldn't agree with you more. I think it's human connection, and I certainly know, at least following the death of our daughter, I was in a dark place, and nothing could pull me from that except my other children and my husband, but particularly my other two children were sort of my life raft at the time.
So meaning and purpose. Jill, how about you?
I mean, Dr. Yalom talks about that. It's the in the same boat experience. I mean, we can find there's so much power in like mutual support of people who have walked the walk and talked the talk. Not everybody's experience is the same, but that similarity, you know, having myself at a younger age lost a spouse, and one who particularly served in the military, that peer-to-peer support connection was so essential for people to kind of understand what it was like being a military family, because there's different things that we go through. You know, like some people, when they lost a partner or a spouse, maybe it was that everyday things, that the roles and the responsibilities. But when you're in a military family, a lot of us who've had a service member go away, we can take out the garbage. We can I can move 5 states away, have my house set up, write out all the bills, do the garbage, do everything else. Those roles I've taken on, be alone for a bit. But when all of a sudden those months start becoming forever and that person's never coming back, that delayed grief kind of hits you. So it was important to have a community of people that have been like my sisters and my family and extended family, that I've made connections. There's a lot of things that loss can do. It can deprive you of a lot of things, but surprisingly also, it can put in front of you things that you never even imagined as you're trying to reorient yourself to a world and reconnect yourself to a world. And sometimes these connections are very powerful, and I think peer support, being able to share, for myself, like raising children, sharing with other only parents about raising their children and what was lost like with them, or what's it going to be getting remarried. I have a friend who has lost her spouse around the same time that I did, and now we're both getting remarried around the same time. So we're kind of going through this together.
Beautiful.
Yeah, what about with the internet? You know, I had somebody come to me whose daughter was killed in Mexico, by a horse. She was horseback riding, and it was a wild horse. And before they got home from Mexico, her son had texted the city. Everybody in my town knew about it immediately. It's this immediate barrage of information that's coming in. Everybody's talking about it. Everybody's, going online about it. And what about that today?
So
it's
you're
kind
saying
of a
how
challenge.
does that help people, or
No, what do we need?
Oh.
What do people need that are in that situation? I mean,
Someone who's
how
not
do we cope?
assign a family member to deal with all the social media stuff or turn it off.
Yes, and I think because we live in a high-tech, low-touch society, we can speak to people around the world. We can put something on social media, and thousands can share it. However, we don't know who our neighbors are. We don't talk to one another like we need to talk to each other unless we are in specific communities, either faith, communities of faith, or school, and neighborhoods, or just even social programs and communities, with your kids and their sports programs can support each other when there is loss. But I just think we have to be very careful, because just because you have a lot of connections on social media, regardless what platform, they're not real connections. Okay, they're high tech. People can, I'm feeling sorry for you, but the reality is, over 30,000 people watch my late wife's virtual homegoing service. 30,000
Wow.
people
That's amazing.
within 24 hours.
Wow.
Yeah, exactly.
But I did not feel that.
But yeah, I love that what you're saying. You really
Yeah.
can't feel it. It's
Yeah.
the human
Connection.
that community.
And how many
that-
of all those people would be there if you really needed them physically in your life? You
Yeah,
know?
yeah.
A lot of people are there virtually, but how many are there would be at your door?
Well, that's an interesting question at your door, because one of the things that I found is that you will lose friends and you will gain people who will come into your life that you never knew.
Yeah, rewrites your address book.
They will
Can.
be,
Yes.
your Rolodex is going to, not Rolodex anymore, but your social,
They contact
your community is going to change.
Well, for me, one of the major things that I needed after the losses I've had is to move, to physically move, to do something physical, because I felt like, so much of the grief and with Scott, the trauma was trapped in my body. And I am a big walker, and I go to Central Park every single day religiously. It is set in stone, and I'll go for an hour and a half early in the morning, and people will go, well, there's a lot quicker way to work out. And I said, I'm not just doing it for working out. I'm doing it just to think, to be alone, to think, to be with, to process my grief.
Yeah, but when you say alone, I'll have to laugh. One thing about Central Park I love is you're never alone.
Along with the other thousands of people that
There are
live
people
here.
on roller skates, there are people
No.
playing music, there are
But-
people
But
dancing.
just moving and walking has
And you
helped
see
me a
that
lot.
every so often you get amused.
Yeah, I mean, moving has been important.
Yeah.
I don't know if any
Running.
of you do
I did
anything that's
running.
been, physically important.
Is that
Working
been-
out, absolutely. Just
Get
keep
those-
moving. And I tend to maybe go a little bit too hard sometimes, but it helps. It helps
Yeah.
me process all the stress and yeah.
I think it's important when we're talking about what people need is I'm going to bring in what people don't need.
Okay.
And what people don't need is people approaching them with judgment, with bias, with their own, with their own stuff, with their own circumstances, with their own. I think meeting people where they're at is very, very important. Not putting our own stuff on other people, and also
Right.
coming from a place of humility.
Yes.
Cultural humility, and trying to not put prescriptive biases on people that we may have that are based in a lot of things that either we grew up with or who we are or where we come from, and really trying to get to understand a person from really that person-centered. Not everybody needs a prescription for grief.
No.
And I think it's really
and what works
important
for me
that.
might not work for most people. Would not walk an hour and a half in Central Park.
Yeah.
What works for me isn't going to work for you, and you. I mean,
Right.
golf works for Eric and my mom, and
Right.
different things work for different people.
And also respecting, people's individual culture, their family culture. You could grow up in a family and still grieve very differently than other folks in your family because
Yes.
of your personality and your makeup. And grief doesn't look a certain way. There are people who think their way through grief, and that's okay. People don't have to cry or emote. I think what they might need is a space, if they do, to be able to be given permission to do that. That it's okay. It's okay not to be okay, as Megan Devine teaches us. It's to have that space and that permission to be able to just be able to have compassion for somebody that is suffering a loss, and to have that space, but to really respect their process.
And I think also too, allow the grief and the journey to transform you. I think that we don't talk about the transformative power of grief, and I look at my own life, how my loss didn't make me bitter, it made me a better man. And it catapulted me toward this destiny where I went back to school to get my doctorate. I'm helping people, other men, process their pain. It's almost as if God took my pain and turned it to a platform, and what was a major hurt for me became this mechanism I can help others, because now I can relate. As a pastor, I was always doing funerals and different things, but now I have a different testimony. I can relate. People can connect with me as a widower that for some reason they didn't connect with me before.
I like that. It's like make your pain your purpose. Make your,
I think about just walk with me.
Right. Take the journey with you.
Just walk with me. Just be with me. And I think when you've had a loss, like you're a widower and you're with other widowers, you don't have to say anything. You can walk with them. That's I think part of what loss gives you, the ability to walk with people who've had the loss.
I think it's important to show up for people, not just after somebody dies.
I agree.
It's to show up for people a year later, 2 years later, to allow permission for people to say there, especially I work with a lot of bereaved parents, and I've had a lot of friends who've lost children, and the importance of being able to say their name, to understand that your loved one is not forgotten. But you get a lot of support in those first maybe 6 weeks, maybe a couple of months, but it's those years down the road. I try to be sensitive because of my own losses. I'm not perfect. Unfortunately, the older you get, you tend to start meeting more people with losses. And for some reason, for me, they always come in that mythological threes. And so, my loss calendar is building and building, but I really try to be sensitive to showing up for people or reaching out to them or acknowledging them during holidays, or just saying, hey, how are you? I've missed talking to you. How are you doing? Months later, years later, to acknowledge them and acknowledge their loss.
I like that. Joelle, what are your thoughts on this conversation?
Well, one thing I wanted to go on with Joelle is this. What we've talked about social support right now,
Yes.
and what I want to talk a little bit is about financial support. And the reason I do is because Joelle is involved with something with Social Security that I think is important for everybody who's watching this show to hear about. And I wanted Joelle to talk about that a little bit because I think it's really important for people to know.
Sure. So for children who are under the age of 18, whose parents, one or both parents, have died, they may be eligible to receive the Social Security benefits that their parents paid into while they were working. And right now we know that the majority of children in the United States who are orphaned, having lost one or both parents, are not receiving that benefit. And so on an annualized basis, up to $15 billion a year is not being conferred to these children. It's an enormous amount of money, and it's one of the most generous federal benefits there is. And so beyond the social connections, which I couldn't agree more, was very helpful to me, I also believe that the financial support, whether it's Social Security, paid bereavement leave, or even knowing how much a funeral is going to cost, and sort of transparency around pricing, is really important in the aftermath for people.
Because there can be a lot of bitterness and unhappiness about it, what we need, particularly since we've been through COVID and there were people who couldn't have funerals, and you know, we were able to, fortunately, because we were during a kind of a lull period. But I know a lot of people, it's just been really tragic, and what they need now. I wanted to ask you guys about ritual. Do you have any thoughts about rituals that you find would be helpful for people who haven't resolved? What they need right now is to move along in their grief and maybe being helped by ritual.
I was looking at you.
Well, actually, I think you need to memorialize your loved one in some way, which is, you may have traditions, regardless of the holidays or the birthdays, all the first anniversaries. Don't stop celebrating, but maybe you do something a little different this time. So maybe you had a family vacation around a birthday or anniversary. You do something else. Light a candle, an ornament, a different ornament on the Christmas tree. You may have sent Christmas cards every year, but this year you do something different with the family photos. You still memorialize that person. However, you want to change up the rituals in your home, so you're embracing this chapter of the loss. You're not denying that this person did not exist, but you're moving forward intentionally.
Some of the rituals we have, my father died on my sister's birthday. And it's been 9 years now, it'll be almost 10. It's a very sensitive day for us. And we still, on that day, we have a ritual of making sure that my sister doesn't disappear. Actually, he died, that day is my sister and his godchild, who's my cousin's birthday. They were both born on August 21st. So we make sure that the cousin and my sister have the time to be acknowledged for their birthday that day. And my dad died at 9 o'clock at night, and usually in the evening, I go to Mass pretty religiously on my dad's, and then at around 8, 9 o'clock at night, if we're going to do a Facebook post or something, because we kind of like that to honor our parents, we usually do it in the evening. So it gives my sister permission and my cousin to feel the joy of living. So we have joy and sadness in one day, and it's really important for us. I think in terms of like holidays and family rituals, those are hard sometimes. Sometimes it's okay to skip a holiday. It's not great. I know for me, I would spend every Christmas Eve at my mom's. And since she's died, and I come to New York, that was really important to me. I've had to kind of reinvent what Christmas Eve looks like, and Thanksgiving that she spent with me. So, you know, giving myself permission to not always have it perfect, and sometimes the process kind of reveals itself. Now I spend those Christmas Eves, a couple of years we're here in New York before COVID. Now I spend them in Pennsylvania, and we go to my sister's for Christmas Day. So I think those rituals are really important to kind of anchor me in family and remembering family.
Do you have some rituals that you use, Joelle?
Oh, we have many rituals. I think sort of integrating the person into your life in the ways that make sense for you. I would also say, for me, it was recognizing what was really harmful and then putting a guardrail around that and just saying to people, I can't go to your child's birthday party. I'm still too sensitive, I'm still too hot. It's not a place that I have the space to do that. And just being okay with being able to do that.
Taking care of yourself.
Yeah.
Well, I would say if you've had didn't have the funeral you wanted or whatever, my husband died during COVID, it's never too late. I mean, it's maybe 4 years ago. It's never too late to plan, some kind of an activity. One activity that I did with a family was there were 3 boys whose dad died, and they all wrote something about their dad. We had it planned with Mom and some other family members. People wrote things. Then we took they read them at the cemetery. Then we took all of the notes and they burned them. And then we had a rose bush and we mixed it with dirt and ash, and they planted a rose bush at their house with all of those memories in it.
Wow.
So there are things like that, and you can ask family members to come and think of your own ritual, anything that works out, you know, if you plant trees or whatever, but it's never too late to memorialize somebody where you feel like you haven't been able to do that and to revisit.
And I think everybody here has started some kind of, I believe, charitable or other movement. You guys started Open to Hope. That's sort of, in a way, Evermore. Your book and what you're doing with the church, right? My sister, for her, she helped create something for my mom who was very charitable. We do something called Elisa's Angels every Thanksgiving, where friends and other folks donate to help in our parish. We give bags of food to families that would have food insecurity around Thanksgiving. And it's an extension sort of, and it's become a ritual for my sister to host a party, have people over, pack the bags. And it's been a beautiful way of being able to kind of give back. But I think some of that ritual has all been, in a way, making meaning of our losses too. I don't know if there's anyone, I think.
I like that.
We all made meanings of our losses, which is incredible here.
So before we end the show, I wanted you guys to talk about what you're doing and where people can find you. And I know you're doing something with the Social Security.
Yeah, so we're working with a number of federal agencies right now and Congress on a couple of different things. And you can learn more about that at evermore.org. And I really appreciate being here.
Didn't you say you were going to have a letter for people who?
We have a number of different resources that on our website for people, including more information about how to secure the Social Security benefits.
Because people are going to have to be proactive if they want to get them.
They are going to have to be proactive. Unfortunately, for the children who have lost a parent, that form is not currently online, although we've been working with the U.S. government to change that.
All right. And I'm sure it's not the kids that are going to go for it. It'll probably be their guardian or parent that need to know about it. So where can people find you?
Reverend Dr. Eric Brewer is my name. You can find me at Transform Church Global Ministries. Also, From Grief to Growth, 31-Day Journey of Love and Loss will be released in 2025. You can find me on all the social media platforms.
All right. And you can go to his virtual church.
Yep.
Which is great.
Absolutely.
Jill.
You can find me at Dr. Jill Harrington or at superherogrief.com.
Okay, and you're doing a School of Social Work.
I am at Marymount University. I'm assistant professor. A big shout out to our new MSW program. So if you're looking to get an MSW, look at Marymount. A great new program coming out.
All right. All right, Heidi, do you want a quick ritual?
A quick ritual? She keeps putting me on the spot.
Don't forget that Richard's closing the show.
Okay.
All right.
This is a ritual. I mean, just remembering Scott and saying his name and talking about him and keeping him alive for my children who didn't know him. But they do, through me.
All right. We want to Heidi and I want to thank everybody for watching this show today. And we always want to remind you that if you've lost hope, please lean on us until you find your own, and God bless.